A getaway of more than 100 kilometers where nobody, not even the favorites, could hunt down this giant of 1,088 meters, which offered us a small exhibition of everything that would come years later. Do you want to know what happened on the way to CAUTERETS during the 1989 tour? Follow my wheel and I'll tell you. The Tour of 1989 began with the great favorite, the winner of the previous year's edition, Pedro Delgado, arriving at the start 3 minutes late, something completely unusual. The Segovian had buried his chances of victory before even starting the race. The Tour ended up being a duel between the Frenchman Laurent Fignon and American Greg LeMond, with an incredible finish. Not everything was bad news for Spanish cycling, since within Delgado's team, one of his teammates was going to poke his head into the professional cycling world, showing himself above the peloton as a special rider, with something more than others. It was Miguel Indurain's 5th tour. He debuted in the French race in 1985. Corpulent and heavy, 1.88 meters tall, no one paid attention to him. Even having won that same year the Paris-Nice and the International Criterium, he seemed invisible in the Renault's team, where the popular Pedro Delgado shined. But the Navarrese cyclists began, in 1987, the details that anticipated the future of those portentous exhibitions in the time trial of Luxembourg in 1992, the mythical ascent to Hautecam in 1992, and the sublime attack in Liège in 1995, the day that surprised the world. The 1989 tour was characterized by being one of the most evenly matched in history. Fignon and LeMond, former teammates, exchanged the leader's jersey several times. The American surprised the cycling world with his triathlete handlebars for the time trials and his aerodynamic helmet never before seen in the tour. The newspapers titled it E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Other big favorites were Eric Broekink, the Frenchman Charlie Motet, or the Irishman Stephen Roche, winner in 1987. Obviously, Indurain was not yet favored for the final victory. His role was to work for the clueless Delgado. The Grand Boucle reached its first major mountainous stage, stage number 9, on July 10th, under the domination of the American LeMond, leader of the race, and with Fignon on his heels. It was the opportunity for Perico to start cutting time with the leader if he wanted to aspire to do something in that tour. The stage was very hard, 150 kilometers where they had to overcome 4 mountainous difficulties, highlighting the Marie Blanc and the Aubisque to finish in CAUTERETS. Whoever wanted to do harm had plenty of ground. And the Renault team played everything for the whole, since with 100 kilometers left, they sent Indurain forward for the benefit of their leader in order to make a bridge during the stage. And then the show began. The stage began with the fall of Fignon, without consequences. The French leader quickly joined the discipline of the group. It was already in the first climb of the day that hostilities broke out. The first to try was the Fagor rider, Forrest, who passed the Marie Blanc in first position. Behind appeared the first victims. Sean Kelly was the first to drop. It was on the same slopes of the Col du Aubisque where the Navarrese began his exhibition. A show of strength, race, and class that began to show us the potential of the slender figure made for basketball and not for the bicycle. He soon dropped Forrest and Van der Poel, the father, who marched ahead and were unable to keep up with the Navarrese giant, who once ascended the Aubisque, threw himself into a madness descent, his specialty, presenting himself in society as a rider to be taken into account in the future, proving that he could pass the mountains as the best climber. Surely, in Renault's car, the looks said it all. Indurain, in what had become a Trans-Pyrenean time trial, came to overtake the Great Peloton in more than 6 minutes, which clearly changed the objective of the Navarrese, which happened to be the stage victory. Behind, the group was united, thinking more about the general classification than the stage. And so, the race reached the last ascent. The also Spanish Anselmo Fuerte launched in search of the Navarrese, But he was too strong, and although in his pedaling fatigue began to show, the die was cast. Near the end, Delgado left in search of recovering time with respect to Le Mans, but without too much significance. And in this way, Indurain, the faithful squire of Perico, raised his arms before the world of cycling to uncover himself after an escape of almost 100 kilometers as the rider who would dominate the French roads during the next decade in a magical 5 years for Spanish cycling. If you liked the video, subscribe and like. And if you want to continue enjoying the best moments of Miguel Indurain, don't miss this.